Hello, my name is Niloufar Lovegrove. I'm a Central Queensland artist. I do printmaking, I do mural, but I'm originally a graphic designer. First of all, I want to thank Rockhampton Art Gallery to invite me today to talk about my art practice. I want to start with a little bit of story of history of where I come from. I'm from Iran. People call it Persia. It sounds better, I think. It brings better memories. I think I've been privileged to be in an art-loving family. My mom and dad aren't artists, but my dad loves reading, and he takes notes on the side of the books, and he's got his own writings, his own thoughts. And my mom is very creative with dressmaking. Apart from that, in my childhood, I think of also at preschool ages, it has been a special time in Iran. It was the time of revolution. It didn't go well, the revolution, but the whole period of that time was the time that thinkers are in the country. There were amazing books for children available, deep stories and deep, beautiful illustrations, a bit more than the usual colorful story time for the kids or educational stuff. I have one little thing. This is, obviously I didn't make it when I was a kid, but it was one of my favorite poems since my childhood, which I made it up later. It's pretty dark, but that's very meaningful, and how we grow up with. I think these were very important for me. They are part of my keenest and dearest memories going through the books. Also, my dad being an avid reader, I always say we had more books than bricks in our home. it was a good start. After that, going to university and continue to draw and paint, I have been usually drawing figures and nude figures, which is not very acceptable where I come from. My paintings never had any traces of Persian mythology or motifs or anything. It was just whatever I felt. Going to uni, which has its own story, because if you ask any kid what you want to do in Iran, they would say doctor or engineer. It's more respected. They will earn better income most likely. Luckily, I didn't have that problem with my family, but there are not many universities back there, especially not many state universities. So every year there is this big national-wide exam for high school kids to enter university. There are tens of thousands of kids who compete. Maybe 50 of them go to that state university of the degree they wish to study. So that was its own challenge. Every kid in Iran uses many years of their teenage years and high school years to study, and you go there and it wasn't exactly what I wanted. First of all, it's graphic. I studied graphic design, and for 4 years your brain gets trained to not think of your personal experience and emotion, think of a client's need and bring a best answer and solution for that need. And the other part was I loved figures. I loved to draw nude. Obviously, I couldn't do that in university. We had this old man in the big building. He was wearing these old suit and long trousers, dark navy colour with a bent back. He would do little things, bringing tea to the staff and taking papers around. And he was our model. He would sit in the middle of the studio, most likely fall asleep, and we had to draw. Since university, I told myself I'm gonna leave. I'm going somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere far away from here. I'm gonna move to a different country. So moving to another country also is not as easy if you're living in Iran. It's not like living in Europe as a little I'm saying as in 20s. It feels little to me now. To move to another country and experience getting a visa is not easy. Money matters is not as easy. So it took so many years, and it took a little bit of determination, I believe, because the lifestyle back there for a girl, and sometimes boys, is a girl lives with her parents and she will leave when she gets married. They usually don't move out on their own, so, or they don't settle as such. It has been long, but at 34 years of age, I made it to Australia and I moved to Cairns. I chose Cairns because when I applied for my visa at the time, graphic design was in demand in Cairns, so that was a bonus for me to choose Cairns. Coming from a big city, capital of Iran, which when I moved at 2008 was almost the whole population of Australia, nearly 20 million, to a beautiful, vast city. You go to the beach and there is nobody there. Absolutely a different planet, not a different country. My start in Australia, in Cairns, as beautiful as it wasn't necessarily as good for my art practice. In Cairns, everything I felt went to hibernation. I felt I needed to put everything else, my daily routines aside, just to learn what is happening around me and get the hang of things. And somehow I feel maybe because I was spoiled in my early life with the art, I maybe didn't go well with the challenges of adjusting myself in the new way. Also, my very minimal social connections were mostly work related. It was graphic, but you can't say much artistic side of graphic, more about my usage of a graphic software, operating a graphic software. They weren't maybe as keen to art, or not to my favor at all anyhow. So everything stopped for a few years until I was married and we moved to Rockhampton when I was heavily pregnant, and Rockhampton became my home. In Rockhampton, I am new in the city with my little baby, like any other new mom, especially working mom, used to working mom, is going to feel weird. You find yourself between the walls with a little baby, don't know anyone, and I felt this is going to change. It can't stay like this. One day I came to actually a sponsored post in Facebook, so I didn't even know about the printmakers group. They had this post inviting local artists, local printmakers to join their annual exhibition. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to make a print. I should still remember something from uni to do a little print, and I'll meet my like-minded people. I'll get out and I'll be happy. When I started to sketch, after a long pause, I didn't know what I'm going to do. It didn't feel like I'm going to continue what I used to sketch. And I came up with a face of a lady which is Persian style painting figure, and she had these Persian horses in her chest. And I thought, that's interesting, I've never done that before, something different, I'll go with that. And I printed it, I finished it, and I went to Capricornia Printmakers in Walter Reed building, and I met the most amazing, supportive, welcoming, talented artists ever. I have been really, really lucky in Rockhampton to meet those kind of supportive people. Not just because I had the artistic background, because some members of group are doing prints more of a hobby. It's just the attitude and it's just the will. That group happened only because few hardworking and talented artists wanted to have the group and invite everyone else in. That was my focal point of coming to Australia. I've been doing printmaking, which I never thought I will. I never planned about it. But I really enjoy carving lino. One part I think is that you can create something which you can't see it from the beginning. You have to wait. It has that suspense feel. And also, it keeps you busy for a long period of time, especially that I work on large pieces. Maybe it's because of my lifestyle. I'm not single anymore. I have a kid. I have a husband working at home. I need a project to think about it in a long time rather than stop and go. So I'll think about a sketch, I put it in front of me, and I have to carve it, and it keeps me happy and busy for a while. Saying that, coming with new sketches seemed to be a painful challenge for me. I didn't feel settled in my ideas. I couldn't come up with the idea to be happy to put them on the paper. I couldn't continue my line of work before, and I felt maybe I'm forcing myself to do the Persian motifs. And you want to find that honest bit inside you. That's why you're doing the art, to feel that pleasure of uncloying and unlocking those feelings inside you. I have to admit that was a big challenge. A lot of times I didn't know what I'm going to do. I would sketch, I wouldn't be happy with it. It would be the last minute and I'm like, okay, I'm doing it anyhow. And then I would feel good. I thought maybe that's it. Maybe I need it. Maybe I had it before. I was surrounded by the design everywhere in my country. Now I don't have it. I miss it. I want it. And it was good. I've received a lot of good critics. And the problem was, for me, the part that you feel, how could it work long term while you join more exhibitions with the team, and people come look at your work on the wall and they feel, wow, that's something different. They would like it, they will talk about it, they will congratulate you, but they can't connect with it deep enough to feel, I'm gonna have this piece on the wall in my home. It doesn't feel like home. It's a different world. It's like traveling to a different country, see all the pretty different cultures and come back home and feel, yeah, I'm back at home. I felt separated. I felt I'm doing something wrong. I'm not matching to my new environment. I'm being stubborn with my silly old motifs. And if I had planned for it to fix this, I couldn't have, by the row of events that happened later one by one for me. I had quite a few exhibitions, group exhibitions. I had one solo small exhibition, and I'm thinking, okay, where this exhibition is gonna take me. Then this open call from Rockhampton Council shows up in the paper with the advice and direction of art gallery. They were looking for a local artist to do a mural on Fitzroy Bridge underpass. And if you've seen this underpass, it's got 3 beautiful pointy arch, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful place, and I have never done mural in my life. I was sleeping thinking of being able to do that and waking up with that dream, and I thought, I will put a design on it and I'll have a go. Maybe they choose my design. What happened was, again, my right brain and left brain, the graphic side and the more arty side, to try to think what would council, what would people like to see on the wall, which I went with obviously a bull, a cow, and I had a flying cow. And I had some floral patterns and all that. Going through the process of the design with the art gallery director Bianca, she was encouraging me to use my style. While it was a shock to me, I felt my style is for me, it's for my emotion, it's for exhibitions, but if it's a mural, it's like a graphic, it's like a need. I have to filter myself. So I was totally encouraged not to filter myself. So I changed the cow to a picture of a cow, a famous cow from Cyrus the Great Palace, which they had this motif of cow engraved on the palace in many places. And I've changed it a bit to make it look more like a Brahman cow. Change the shape of tail, the neck, the back. And you can't say it's Brahman, it's Rockhampton, it's modern. You can't say it's exactly what it was in Iran. It's a match. Location being next to the river, obviously I thought I will love to have some river and fish in the picture, and the fish became to be some of the motif of fish that they use on the potteries in Iran, in a city named Shiraz. They're beautiful potteries. Everyone loves those fishes and cows, and nobody feels they are foreign or different. If it's different, it's a good different. That was the biggest encouragement for me, that I can match my different style to something that public would like. And I used that for the next mural too, which is the swimming pool at Emu Park. So you go close to the swimming pool. It's this big, vast green place, a little bit hilly, close to the beach. You can't quite see the water yet. And there is this building which is not small, but with all those big tall trees, it feels short and small, and it feels a bit faded with everything else. So I decided I'm going to use big, bold, bright colors. And with all the shadows of the nearby trees on the building, leaving all the lines of floral shadows in there, I thought I'm going to use a rock pattern. As crazy as it is, 2.7 meter high, about 34 meters the length of the wall, I decided to make a length wall stencil, 3 big ones, so in the end I could flip them around and they match, and I can do the symmetry, cover the whole wall. It would have been awesome if it wasn't next to the breezy beach location to fit the stencils, but it worked in the end. That was the shadows of the trees that I didn't want to wipe off the walls. There are so many birds in there. I have the Persian motif birds fitted between those vines, and I have 3 figures of swimmers stretched on top of all that background pattern. The good thing with these murals, when you do a mural, is the passerbys. They walk past, they see something different, and it makes them happy. It is a different that is not invading them. It is trying to join and be part of it. It's been beautiful, and I can't wait to do more murals. So the next unexpected project to involve something totally Iranian, Persian into everyday life here was a wine bottle. One day I received this call that a lady from Sale Yards Distillery liked my work for the using on a label of the new product. It wasn't just mine. They were going to use 3 artists and 3 local female artists' work for the line of their product. And I thought, that's bizarre, like why would anyone want that? But as the product had, one of them had cinnamon and Middle Eastern flavors and smell and taste to it, they wanted to choose that label with that style of work, which ended up to be this. I would have never thought. It also gave me the chance to use my graphic design creativity to make the whole label, but the fact that I didn't need to change and be something different to be useful in a, to have my artwork useful in a productive manner, it was again a surprise for me in a way. And that was only because someone had seen some pictures of my solo exhibitions at the gallery. Another work that I like to talk about is the Rocks Restaurant, my collaboration with the Rocks Restaurant. Before going into details, I have to tell you something about Iranians' lifestyle so you can see how important and deeply pleasant it's been for me. Iranian people are mad about their poets. They love reading poems. They go to a different city to sightseeing that special city's best poets found. You go to street and you will see little lines of calligraphy at the rear windows of cars, and they are poems. As absurd as it can be at some times with the concept of the poem and all that, but it is a poem. Somebody put a poem at the back of their car. You go to a park and you can see an old man sitting on a settee with his little budgies and a little cage and this big pile of heaps of envelopes. And what he does is, you pay him obviously, and the little budgie knows to pick an envelope for you. And that envelope brings a poem from Hafiz for you. Hafiz is one of the most prominent poets of Iran from 14th century. And you can't open that envelope fast enough to see what's inside. And it has, his style of poems are kind of some affirmation to your today's feeling or making your mind about a decision. It brightens your day. So when I receive a phone call from the one and only Brian Hooper from Yeppoon that he's thinking of a collaboration with me for the work they're doing on the ceiling, and he and his interior designer think they would like some script, Arabic, Persian kind of script on the ceiling, on these three colored piles with different lengths hanging from ceiling over the moon. I can have something written in Persian on a ceiling. You can't see when you're standing down obviously, in the perspective, but the story is there. So there goes a poem from Hafiz celebrating peoples of the world and saying, let's break the roof of the sky and put a new roof up and throw the flowers out and fill up our glass of wine. It couldn't be any better place than the rocks. So getting more comfortable with doing my style in lino, I have a few examples to show you. This one is called Shahzad or 1001 Night. The story is famous. Some call it, I think the movie is Arabian Nights. It is the story of a king because his wife wasn't loyal to him. He marries a girl in town every day and kills them every day until this girl named Shahzad, which in Persian means free, make the city free, freedom of the city, volunteers to go and marry the king. And she starts telling him a story every night for 1001 nights until king falls in love with her, and the city obviously is free from the misery, and the king is also free from his hatred. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope it was some kind of use or little bit of interesting things in it for you. I hope it was at least inspiring for you to do what you want to do. And thanks again for your time, and to the Rockhampton Art Gallery.